everybody is gonna have a totally different take on it.
Yep.
Very good point, thank you, Rob.
Good point.
Yeah.
Any other public comments?
So true.
Yeah.
There's no other in-person comment. We have one public comment.
Please.
One written public comment. President Sangster and members of the board, my name is Laura Robinson, Executive Director of SEIU Local 620, the labor organization representing the district's employees. I appreciate the opportunity to provide a comment in the proposed relocation of the district administrative office. Our members have significant concerns about this proposal, both from an operational and financial standpoint. The move does not appear to be in the district's or the public's best interest. Relocating employees to an off-site location while continuing to maintain an existing lease would increase costs unnecessarily and create avoidable inefficiencies. Separating office staff from field operations would place a burden on day-to-day coordination, reduce oversight, and hinder communication between teams who rely on close proximity to perform their work effectively. These are not abstract concerns, they directly affect service delivery to the community. Additionally, the proposed new location raises serious safety concerns. The site is immediately adjacent to a bar, and administrative staff are routinely required to collect utility payments, including large sums of cash. Placing employees and members of the public who come to make payments in an environment with an increased security risk is not advisable and exposes the district to unnecessary liability. It is also important for the board to know that employees are strongly opposed to this move. They have expressed a clear preference for maintaining the status quo, either by extending or purchasing the current facility. Finally, I want to emphasize that regardless of whether the relocation decision itself is considered a management right, the moving unquestionably affects employees' working conditions and therefore triggers the district's obligation to engage in effects bargaining under the Myers-Millis-Brown Act. Changes to safety conditions, workflow, communication with field staff, and the day-to-day environment in which employees perform the duties all fall squarely within the scope of representation. For that reason, we respectfully request that the board refrain from taking action on this item until the district has met its duty to bargain the impacts and effects of the proposed relocation with SEIU Local 620. For all these reasons, financial, operational, safety-related, and legal, we urge the board to reconsider this proposal and maintain the current administrative location. Thank you for your time and consideration. Laura Robinson, SEIU Local 620, Executive Director. Okay, so that's the only written public comment I have. If you like, I can respond to Mr. Campbell's comments.
Sure, please do.
So, in regard to security, although what we just heard in that public comment is true, the initial security is physical security at the site. The whole front of that site is windows, which have already been broken. If the district is to move to that location, we would need to have assurance that somebody's not going to break a window in the middle of the night, go in and steal all their computers, steal the safe, steal whatever they want to steal, or cause who knows how much money in damages. That is one of the concessions that the owner is willing to work with us on, putting a security door inside the building, so as not to change the frontage, but to provide additional security to the site.
The piece of glass that was broken was this big. You couldn't stick your head through it.
I understand.
Okay.
We can have a discussion, we answering the
I understand, but it's like a one-way street. It always is.
So, as I'm sure we've all watched plenty of TV shows, and maybe as youth have broken windows, it is very easy to break a window this big next to a door handle and turn it from the inside, or to let yourself in, which is a primary concern.
It's got a double-cylinder deadbolt on it. It can't be opened from the
It
inside.
takes just as much effort to break a big window
Well,
and just walk right in. So the concern is that somebody would be able to break in easily and come in and either cause damage or steal sensitive information or money. Regarding the office of the wastewater treatment plant, the The shop building does have a small office and a small bathroom. There's nothing wrong with the bathroom for normal operations there, that's fine. The office is approximately 30 to 40 square feet. It's very small. It would be probably okay for one person to use intermittently. It currently serves as the break room for the entirety of our staff. So, although it could be converted to an office, would be very inefficient as an office. The flow through that office is from one corner to the other, so you'd be walking through whoever's office that might be. So again, although that might be an option for one person, it would not be an option for a operational staff of 4 or 5, which is what is our normal staffing, or our proposed staffing. Regarding payments, the district provides multiple opportunities for people to pay in multiple locations. So we currently maintain a drop box at the wastewater treatment plant outside the gate that somebody can drop off at whenever they feel like. We also maintain one at the fire station, which anybody can drop off 24/7, no problem. They can mail it to us, they can pay online if they don't feel comfortable coming to the treatment plant. Staff is available 5 days a week generally to answer phone calls and to help people with calls via phone. So I am not aware of anybody that has complained about having to come to the treatment plant to pay for a bill. I think Mr. Campbell may have mentioned that sometime. I'm not sure if that was actually a complaint or not, but so there's a lot of options for the public to not have to interact with the treatment plant. And I don't know, do you have anybody that has specifically said something about that?
No.
Although it may have happened at some point, I'm not aware of it. Ms. Parent just said that she's not aware of any specific complaints about the public having to come there. The recommendation to maintain the office at the treatment plant, even if the administrative staff leaves, would be to provide a space for the operators to have adequate space to perform their duties. I understand that we could always go back to the nothing and have a free office trailer that we got from somewhere that probably had more mold in it than I've ever experienced in my life, but I put up with it because that was something we needed to do. Was it smart? No. Am I going to pay the price for it later on? Probably. But the long-term effects of any setting is going to have an impact, and I think we all realize that. What the board at this point should be looking at is where do we see ourselves long-term, and is moving at this juncture the best for the district to get to its long-term goal. Although I personally, as the general manager, do not think that we need to have a presence on Mission Street. Maybe at some point we have a presence downtown once we have need for a bigger space. Moving to the Mission Street location is essentially moving to a similar type space. It's not providing a lot of benefits. To my knowledge, there's not a commercial space downtown that actually would provide additional space for us to grow into that exists currently. As was mentioned, there's probably a dozen or more vacant land parcels that are available that the district could purchase and maybe do some sort of public-private partnership to build a building and create rental space, and create a space for the district to have an office, to have a meeting room, to have things that are set up specifically for the district so that we don't have situations like this with an ineffective meeting space. But again, I go back to my original recommendation, which is to buy the trailer that we are currently renting maintain the offices at that trailer or at the office until we get to a point where either we can buy a piece of property to build a space that is going to work for us long-term, or build an office at the treatment plant that's going to work for us long-term. Adding additional costs operationally is really just causing more harm at this point. But whatever the board's desire, we will move forward in that direction.
I got a
I
question.
had one other question you didn't answer.
And what was that?
That was the one about the proposal you received. What was what were the figures on that?
My apologies. So as I mentioned earlier, we received a proposal yesterday, and I mentioned that the low end of that proposal was $1,500, which was $1,000 less than what was previously told to me, and what was included in the board packet. The reason that I did not provide that proposal to you guys is because I only received it yesterday. It is not something that has been discussed with the property owner at this point, other than prior to receiving that. The basic cost of it was $1,500 for 2 years, and then 2 or 3 years, and then $2,000 for the subsequent years for 5 years, for a total of 5 years. Again, I have not had a chance to talk to the owner about that. If we were to negotiate a lease, it would have to include many more terms than what was listed out in that particular document, and would have to be reviewed by legal before we would be bringing it back to the board for approval by the board.
Okay.
All right, I got one question.
Yeah.
Sure.
That, double wide down there at the treatment plant, that doesn't have a bathroom.
Yes, it
Everybody uses the one in the building, don't they?
No, the building, the double wide office that we have right now has an ADA accessible bathroom. The ramp going to it is an ADA accessible ramp. So it is completely compliant with ADA.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the restroom.
The restroom there is a restroom inside that building.
Really?
It's right next to you when you sign your checks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We don't advertise it because we don't, it's not open to the public. But if you're ever there and need to use it, you're more than welcome to.
Well, that's good to know. Sometimes I need to use it.
But the bathroom was, when we leased that bathroom, or leased that building, it was required that they put a bathroom in it. So they built a bathroom into it. So it does have a bathroom. It's actually pretty nice.
Okay. Well, I just got one other option for you. We own the north side of the fire station.
Yes.
Why couldn't that trailer be moved down there?
Well, you would have significant cost to moving it there. Most likely the county wouldn't allow us to put it there. You would still have the same, you would have essentially the reverse condition that we have with the temporary housing unit, where we own the temporary housing unit but not the property. So if we were to move a trailer to the north side of the fire station, then especially if we move the one we have now, we would be leasing what we have on our property. So if we're going to do something to that nature, then number one, it would have to be something that could be approved by the county. I'm not confident that moving that trailer to that location would be acceptable to the county. It doesn't mean that at some point we couldn't put a modular on a district-owned property downtown. It's unlikely that they would approve moving that particular unit there. The one thing that was mentioned in this written public comment that I don't think we really discussed overall tonight is if we're going to have our limited staff that we have now, and in my understanding of how this conversation has progressed both tonight and in previous meetings is for me to remain with the operational staff and for the administrative staff to move downtown. That creates a huge burden operationally in communication, where most of our interpersonal communication is done in person because we're in the same office. It's not impossible to pick up a phone and call somebody, But it's much easier to walk from one office to the other and say, hey, what's going on with this or that or whatever. Or, as what is very common, especially lately, is individuals upset about their bill. I'm right there and can take care of an issue that arises right there. It doesn't mean that we don't have the same problem if I move away from the operators and then the operators don't have any sort of management on that side. We don't have a director of utilities right now that's a separate person. So managing both sides is much easier from the same location. But again, that goes back to my comment about once we, in the future, when we have more staff and we've grown a little bit, this separation of administration and operations may make more sense.
Okay.
I would, make a motion.
You're welcome to make a motion. Well, we're gonna give direction to staff. We need a motion, correct?
Yeah,
Well, if it is
No.
to purchase the trailer, you do. But if it is direction of any other kind, you do not need a motion, you just need a second from another director.
okay. I move that we table this till we get more information, you know, so on.
So what information would you like?
Well, complete information on that and a possible,
On what?
on the lease for 1271 Mission Street.
So I would need direction to negotiate a lease.
Yeah,
So you don't want to table it, you want to give me direction to negotiate a lease.
okay, yeah, that's fine. Like I said, it's like I said, there's just,
Don't you need the majority of the board to do that?
You need majority of you to give him authority to negotiate on your behalf. I would suggest directing Kelly to gather more information and putting
Yeah.
this into a closed session item because we don't negotiate property deals in
Yeah.
open session typically. I mean, you can, I'd highly recommend you don't.
We will not.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So where are we going here? So
We're gonna put it in a closed session.
So you want to bring it back to a future meeting with closed session with additional information about a lease.
Yeah.
Do we have a second for that?
This is a joke.
I'm not sure that's the right direction because now you're giving the union a go and having to negotiate with the union, bargaining. And I don't know that that's the right space for us anyway. Where's the other location that might be available someday?
So there's two other places. One, the corner next to the post office, and although it's less ideal, the painter studio that's currently for sale.
Oh, the big double.
Yeah,
It's sold.
is it?
It's sold.
No. Well, never mind. That one's no longer available.
And Kelly Works' building has a tenant in it. Spoke to her yesterday.
Okay, so I guess in my opinion, I would say that we leave the staff where they are. I'm not convinced that investing in a 40-year-old modular for $166,000 is also the right direction. It's 40 years old. I would say we look into what signage would limit the liability for the public going into the facility and what steps can be taken to limit the liability to the district from an employee perspective. That would be my just recommendation.
Yeah, like Robin said, you know.
Do we have a second for that?
I was under.
Okay. I would like at least the consensus from the board on the legal analyses requested because legal fees is a hot topic, so.
Oh, you mean you're gonna charge us?
Oh, yeah. Just you.
Just me.
Do we have any other director comments, any other input, any other direction on this item?
I'm against moving from down at the plant, so that's where I'm at. So,
I think that's yeah.
and this is just far beyond the time needed to discuss this, and then move it down the road and keep kicking it down the road. Requesting more information, you can't even define what information you want. So, it's kind of where I'm at.
So we have a general consensus to stay where we are and investigate the liability of being there.
I have a question, Kelly. Do they have signs up all over the place at the Festivals Treatment Plant cautioning people not to come in there? There's employees that work down there. There's cars all over the place down there.
They have similar signs to us warning people about
Yeah.
the danger of wastewater.
But people aren't paying their bills there either.
No, but at the wastewater treatment plant in Casa, they do have, well, if you're worried about things floating in the air, that's definitely not the place to go, but they do have staff that regularly work there that are not operations, that are administrative and laboratory staff. They do have other public that go there to have meetings and things. It just, I don't believe that anybody makes a payment there. They still have the impact of public going there. The same as the San Luis Obispo wastewater treatment plant. They regularly hold classes there. So it's, you know,
Okay.
there's obviously a risk there, and we can investigate what to do to limit the district's liability.
That would be what I would like to see. That's the whole point of this exercise, is to reduce the exposure of liability to the district.
So it sounds like we have a consensus to go that route. So we'll maintain the offices at the wastewater treatment plant for now, not pursue purchasing the treatment plant, or the office at the treatment plant, and just continue renting it until further information is provided, unless there's a motion to purchase the trailer, but it sounds like Director Sangster is not in favor of buying something that's 40 years old, so.
I'm just not convinced that we would ever get our money back out of it. And we're talking about 6+ years worth of current rent. 6 years is a long way out. Just my opinion.
Okay,
Okay? Okay, we'll move on then. Item number 10, continued from November and December board meetings. Provide direction on the installation and use of a red light outside the temporary housing unit and possible action to approve expenditure for installation.
Good evening again, directors. So suggested action is consider the installation of a red light on a photo cell to be installed on the west exterior of the temporary housing unit. And I'll skip all the history unless you'd like me to go over it all in the interest of time. But after discussion at the December 18th, 2025 meeting, it was recommended by Director Sangster that a red light on a photo cell be added to the west wall exterior of the temporary housing unit. And Baldwin Electric was contacted. They do most of our electrical work in-house for us. And they provide a cost of $400.56 for installation and parts.
Thank you. Comment, questions?
No, it's pretty self-explanatory.
No questions?
I just got one question for Scott. Scott, there's a light already there, right? With a light switch?
There is a light on the light switch.
All right, just put a red lens on it like it's on the firehouse and a light bulb, and when somebody's there, turn it on. When they leave, have them turn it off.
It's not on the photo cell.
We had an in-depth conversation regarding this the last meeting, and I could go back and read the whole discussion if you'd like.
No, that's fine, that's fine. I mean, it's just, but
Public comment on this item?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on this item. Historically, I try not to agree with Scott on anything. it's just against my nature, but I agree with him on this. A red flag is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard, okay? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Time to leave. God, you got me there.
Thank you for your support.
You're going back to the 1950s, and Pass Roads had a red light outside the police station, and a red light outside the fire station. And go to other cities, they don't have that. Bishop, California is another one that comes to mind. Got an all-volunteer fire department there, in the city of about 9,000. I just think it's ridiculous. I don't think it should be.
There is a red light on the fire
They're
station.
like on the district, or apparatus bay right now on the current station.
Yeah.
So I guess that's ridiculous too.
I'm just saying that it's not necessary.
It isn't necessary. We do a lot of things that are unnecessary.
I actually like the idea.
What's that?
I actually like the idea.
So, there's no other public, is there any other public comment? I'd like to make a motion, I'd like to have Baldwin install this cosmetic red light on the other building so it matches the existing firehouse. This is very important to Director Green. It's $400. We spend countless dollars on all kinds of other things, and I think it's a worthy tie-in so that the buildings are aligned. That's my motion.
Sorry, did we have public comment?
Yes.
Yes, that's, you missed that?
I get lost in
We always think, we talked about this like
I second it.
So we have a Director Sangster, motion, geez Louise, by Director Sangster and a second by Director Davis to install the light, or have Baldwin Electric install the light on the temporary housing unit. Can we have a roll call, please?
Director Davis,
Yeah.
Director Smiley,
No.
Director Beatty,
Abstain.
Oh, no.
Director Sangster.
Yes, obviously.
So it's 2-1-1.
Super.
So there we go.
Okay.
I'm wondering what's on the amount.
It's total within ability.
Okay, we'll move on to board comment.
Okay, I've got a couple.
Hold on, let me get to my clean paper here.
Is your computer doing as well as mine? What are you watching?
I would like, this goes back to the 12/18/25 meeting. I'd like to send off of number 9, items 4 and 5, and discuss those at the February meeting.
Can you say that again?
Okay, on the consent calendar for 12/18,
Oh, okay, the consent calendar from the 12-18 agenda. the
Yeah,
December
right.
18th agenda.
okay, number 9, items 4 and 5.
You want to bring them back for a discussion?
Well, I'd like to possibly bring them back to revote.
Well, you have to have another discussion. You have to bring it back as a discussion item.
Okay, well, yeah, bring it back as a discussion item.
Can you remind me what those two are?
Yeah, it's grants.
It's
Which
the
grants?
VFA and stuff that's,
So, just to be aware, funds have been allocated for those projects. Once approved.
Before we go further on, are there any other directors that desire to bring those two items back for discussion?
I hear them, sure.
So, just so we all are understanding, because I don't have that particular thing in front of me, can you read off what they are? If you have it, I'll read it, that's fine.
Okay. Let's see.
12/18.
Yes.
12/18 meeting, number 9, items,
Number 4 and 5 is what you said.
no, Adam,
So it's consent.
items number 2, number 4 and 5, right?
9.4 and 9.5.
Number
So
4
one
and
is
5.
authorizing the fire chief to administer
Yep.
executive office of traffic safety grant. The
Right.
other is volunteer firefighters VFA grant.
Yeah.
So both of those grants have been executed and funds have been spent for those grants.
Well, the thing that,
We could bring it back. if
well,
two
yeah,
directors-
well, like I said, I think we need, because like, the way I understood, one was a $12,000 grant, and the other one was a $14,000 grant,
Right.
50/50. So the way I understand, okay, you're gonna get a $12,000 grant, and then you're gonna spend $12,000.
So
Is that how that works or not?
No,
our 50% was the 12,000 and the 14,000.
no, it was 14,000, so I can speak to this clearly.
Go ahead.
So the Officer Traffic Safety Grant was for auto extrication tools and technology. The technology was placed in the engines, it was purchased and installed as advanced warning systems. Done deal. The auto extrication equipment, once the grant was approved, was purchased and in service and been trained on. Rescue 42 Junior Systems. That was a 100% non-matching grant for $12,000 and change. $12,600 on the money. The VFA grant is something that we apply for annually, we usually get annually. That's a 50/50 grant. So it was about $14,000 and change for a list of items that the board reviewed, voted on, and approved. The grant was executed, it was signed, the CAL FIRE paperwork was submitted to CAL FIRE, and authorization to spend those funds was given. So funds have been spent, items have been purchased, and we're moving forward with that. It's a 50/50 split. The grant that came through today was a supplemental to that grant for an additional $3,600 for additional training that wasn't part of the original VFA grant, this is part of the VFC grant. So I'm not sure what the board chooses to do with grant funds that were already allocated and items installed on equipment and press releases submitted. But that's the nuts and bolts of it all.
Okay, well, here's the question. Maybe I misunderstood, but it looked to me like everything that you ordered was well over $60,000.
Christina, how much conversation can be taken in on a non-agenda basis?
It's board comment.
It's board comment.
No, this is back and forth. This has been a lot of discussion here.
There is no deliberation occurring during board comment. The board may ask general questions to staff, which staff can answer. There, no action can be taken and no deliberation can occur though. So the question is, knowing that all of the allocated funds have already been spent and the implementation is complete, do you still want to bring the items back for discussion, or do you just need more information on the items?
I just need an answer.
Okay.
Okay, everything that Scott had on that package and everything came to, I think one was like $60,000, well over. You probably, you got it, because you're the one that.
Nothing was over